Indeed, if I were forced to try the impossible to imagine what it is like to be a bat, I would guess that echolocating for them might be rather like seeing for us. We are such thoroughly visual animals that we hardly realize what a complicated business seeing is. Objects are out there, and we think that we see them out there. But I suspect that really our percept is an elaborate computer model in the brain, constructed on the basis of information coming from out there, but transformed in the head into a form in which that information can be used. Wavelength differences in the light out there become coded as color differences in the computer model in the head. Shape and other attributes are encoded in the same kind of way, encoded into a form that is convenient to handle. The sensation of seeing is, for us, very different from the sensation of hearing, but this cannot be directly due to the physical differences between light and sound. Both light and sound are, after all, translated by the respective sense organs into the same kind of nerve impulses. It is impossible to tell from the physical attributes of a nerve impulse whether it is conveying information about light, about sound, or about smell. The reason the sensation of seeing is so different from the sensation of hearing and the sensation of smelling is that the brain finds it convenient to use different kinds of internal model of the visual world, the world of sound, and the world of smell. It is because we internally use our visual information and our sound information in different ways and for different purposes that the sensations of seeing and hearing are so different. It is not directly because of the physical differences between light and sound. But a bat uses its sound information for very much the same kind of purpose as we use our visual information. It uses sound to perceive and continuously update its perception of the position of objects in three-dimensional space, just as we use light. The type of internal computer model that it needs, therefore, is one suitable for the internal representation of the changing positions of objects in three-dimensional space. My point is that the form that an animal's subjective experience takes will be a property of the internal computer model. That model will be designed in evolution for its suitability for useful internal representation, irrespective of the physical stimuli that come to it from outside. Bats and we need the same kind of internal model for representing the position of objects in three-dimensional space. The fact that bats construct their internal model with the aid of echoes, while we construct ours with the aid of light, is irrelevant. That outside information is, in any case, translated into the same kind of nerve impulses on its way to the brain. My conjecture, therefore, is that bats see in much the same way as we do, even though the physical medium by which the world out there is translated into nerve impulses is so different, ultrasound rather than light. Bats may even use the sensations that we call color for their own purposes to represent differences in the world out there that have nothing to do with the physics of wavelength, but which play a functional role for the bat, similar to the role that colors play to us. Perhaps male bats have body surfaces that are subtly textured so that the echoes that bounce off them are perceived by females as gorgeously colored, the sound equivalent of the nuptial plumage of a bird of paradise. I don't mean this just as some vague metaphor. It is possible that the subjective sensation experienced by a female bat when she perceives a male really is, say, bright red, the same sensation as I experience when I see a flamingo. Or at least, the bat's sensation of her mate may be no more different from my visual sensation of a flamingo than my visual sensation of a flamingo is different from a flamingo's visual sensation of a flamingo.
Because we can only understand it at a level of artificial instrumentation and mathematical calculations on paper, we find it hard to imagine a little animal doing it in its head. Yet the mathematical calculations that would be necessary to explain the principles of vision are just as complex and difficult, and nobody has ever had any difficulty in believing that little animals can see. The reason for this double standard in our skepticism is quite simply that we can see and we can't echolocate.
I can imagine some other world in which a conference of learned and totally blind bat-like creatures is flabbergasted to be told of animals called humans that are actually capable of using the newly discovered inaudible rays called light, still the subject of top-secret military development, for finding their way about. These otherwise humble humans are almost totally deaf. Well, they can hear after a fashion and even utter a few ponderously slow, deep drawling growls, but they only use these sounds for rudimentary purposes like communicating with each other. They don't seem capable of using them to detect even the most massive objects. They have instead highly specialized organs called eyes for exploiting light rays. The sun is the main source of light rays, and humans, remarkably, manage to exploit the complex echoes that bounce off objects when light rays from the sun hit them. They have an ingenious device called a lens, whose shape appears to be mathematically calculated so that it bends these silent rays in such a way that there is an exact one-to-one mapping between objects in the world and an image on a sheet of cells called the retina. These retinal cells are capable, in some mysterious way, of rendering the light audible, one might say, and they relay their information to the brain. Our mathematicians have shown that it is theoretically possible, by doing the right, highly complex calculations, to navigate safely through the world using these light rays, just as effectively as one can in the ordinary way using ultrasound, in some respects even more effectively. But who would have thought that a humble human could do these calculations?